Bitcoin is a tool for freeing humanity from tyrants, dressed up as a get-rich-quick scheme. And that's Naval. Thank you, Naval. Because I feel what he's done there is encapsulates all I'm trying to say. And thank you, Stephen, John Hill and Facebook for enabling me to find that information out for you. It just came to me. I do love the way things work online, the way you show an interest in something and things start to come towards you. So the shamanic perspective on all this is very clear. As human beings, we are in this awakening process. And I am so surprised. I'm incredibly surprised that actually it's money, finance, that is one of the tools that's going to set us free. And it's blockchain assets that's doing this for us. So what I want to do now is I want to take you to the part of the journey which was really quite something for me to get my head around. Because when I first understood, okay, so there's this thing called Bitcoin, and if you want to know more, obviously do your own research. Just look at the history of Bitcoin. Go into Wikipedia, it's all there for you. And you'll get the funny thing that one of the very first trades that was done on Bitcoin was where an incredibly huge number of Bitcoins was used to buy a couple of takeaway pizzas. It's got practical applications. Here's the other thing, there's more than 1 million companies on websites which are actually offering products for trade directly on Bitcoin. So one of the there's a whole load of objections people come up with, and I'm going to address one or two of them. But you can come up with your own objections, you can come up with your own answers to them. But one of the really simple objections, okay, so I get these Bitcoins, or whatever these blockchain assets are called, and then how do I spend them? How do I buy anything with them? Well, there's your answer. There's a huge and ever increasing number of websites which are actually enabling you to buy products without using local currency. So here's another term to use. Fiat currency is a term we use to describe dollars, pounds, euros, and all, yuan, yen, and all the rest. Your actual physical notes, what you use with your bank card, that's called fiat currency. That's controlled by the banks. Blockchain assets are not controlled by anyone except those that are involved in the trading and those that actually hold them for us. What I love about the online community is that you see so much of people creating things and sharing them freely, and that's how this is all possible. It's the fact that there is this sense of altruism amongst people which has enabled all this to happen, and it's becoming so big people are making money, and this is actually a way you can earn a living if you get really excited about this. What you can do is you can become a blockchain asset trader. So if that's something else, yeah, no, it just goes deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, doesn't it? So I use this word blockchain asset because that's the word to describe a peer-to-peer transaction which has got no oversight from the banking system, which is outside of that system, where you need your own wallet to be able to store them. And so this then brings us to the next thing. As soon as you've got yourself your blockchain asset wallet, and you've gone to Bitalicious or Coinbase using your own online banking, and you've bought yourself some Bitcoins, then they go into your document wallet. So your Bitcoin wallet, your blockchain asset wallet on Exodus or whatever other system you use. The next thing that hits you very hard is, oh my goodness me, but it's not just about Bitcoins, there's all these other currencies too. There's lots and lots of them. In fact, the more you look at this, you'll discover the more of them there appear to be. And it's like, well, why are there so many? But this is the point. This is one of the fascinating things about it. It doesn't just depend upon one currency, one asset like Bitcoin. There are lots of them. So there's Ethereum, there's Salt, there's EOS, there's Litecoin. Now here's where it starts to get really interesting. Bitcoin has had this quantum leap in confidence, and this is a thing I want to get you to grasp if you possibly can, please. confidence in the banks has been steadily diminishing as people realise that if you want to save in the banks, they give you less and less and less, and they are controlling us more and more and more. With blockchain assets, what's happening is people are becoming more and more confident in them. Now, if you go back to the days of 2008 through to about 2015, all that period of time, what was happening with these blockchain assets like Bitcoin is the value was going up and down, up and down, up and down. And so this was an expression and a reflection of people's wavering confidence. But what's happened in 2017 is that rather than the confidence wavering, it suddenly becomes stabilised and established. Now, this is the way that I understand it as an outsider, as a rank amateur, as an absolute beginner to all this. This is the way that I grasp it. What's been happening in the last 3 months is Bitcoin's value increases. Greedy people see the values increasing and they want to make some money. So some quick money. So what they do is they then sell. As soon as they sell their Bitcoins, the value is going to drop. Now, back in the years before 2012 and up to 2015, what would happen is this. People would buy the Bitcoins, people see the value increasing, they would all sell them, and they went right back to where they started, or maybe even lower. They'd go up again, up and down, up and down, up and down. There wasn't much confidence in them because they were so new. But this year that's all changed, and the confidence is now established. So what happens is the value goes up, some people sell them, so the price goes down, but because only some people sell them, because the vast majority of people actually keep the confidence in that item, what then happens is it only drops a little bit. Because people see it only drops a little bit, then what that means is more people start to join. And this is the thing you've really got to realise. This is what's so special about it, is because there's a huge influx of new people like me joining. This is what we do. We see the price has dropped a little bit and we think, well, that would be a good time to buy, so we will buy it. And so that puts the price up again. And so this is why the increase in the rate is exponential, because there's a confidence. So Bitcoin is really like the forerunner, the foundation. Now my next step down the rabbit hole was to discover Litecoin. And so what I did is I went into my blockchain asset wallet. So you can see I'm struggling with the terminology. It's not a document wallet, it's a blockchain asset wallet. So when I go into my blockchain asset wallet, I can see I can actually exchange my Bitcoins for all these different currencies. And I choose Litecoin, that's the one I chose to go for next. So I exchange some of my Bitcoins for Litecoins. Now here's the thing, for the newcomer like me and you, possibly, this is how it is. When you start, it's really challenging, and what you're doing is you're having to adapt to a completely new way of thinking and processing information. I didn't find it easy, I found it really hard, and it's why it took me it literally took me 3 months to go from this good friend advising me to do this thing. I can see it's going up. How do I do it? Even though he was giving me the keywords of what I needed to do, I struggled like mad. I found it really hard to do this because I think I've changed my perception and my consciousness. And this is really good for me, because actually if you find yourself in a situation where you're doing something you don't know how to do it, embrace it. This is really good for your shamanic development, because as soon as you do something you don't know how to do, this is actually firing new neural pathways in your brain, which means you're increasing the potential and the possibility of your consciousness. So this is the process I went through. So once I got my Bitcoins, I decided, right, I'm going to explore these Litecoins, and I bought some of those. So this is it. To get into the whole thing, and it's actually quite challenging. You've got to do all the verification process with the people you want to buy them from. You've got, in my case, you've got to actually start to use your online banking facility, which I just wasn't using. And I've got to balance and juggle these three things. So when I did my first transaction, it took me half a day. And that was only on the 8th of December. And literally 2 days ago, I did exactly the same process and it took me less than 10 minutes. And here's the other thing. Because I'm new at this, I make mistakes. Every single time I make a mistake, it's like, oh my goodness me, it doesn't feel good. But this is really good for me, because that means that what I'm learning is it's okay to make a mistake, and then I can find out how to deal with that mistake. And I can actually solve that problem, become more confident. And this is like learning any new skill at all, isn't it? The more mistakes we make in the early days, the quicker we're able to increase our progress and get better and better and better at doing it. Okay, so here comes a really interesting bit from my point of view. Bitcoin has done this incredible leap. Litecoin is doing the same thing, but because it's not so well known, it hasn't got so much confidence in it, it's further behind in this process. Now that might seem, well, why do you want to do something further behind? This is all to do with the fact this is not about getting rich quick. This is about altering your consciousness, and it's about getting a new understanding about how you can perceive reality. This is really what it's about. So I want to bring to you the next images that come to me. And this is my night of being awake, very much alive, very excited. And the image I was shown was the cornucopia. Now the cornucopia is a horn of plenty. And what happens to the horn of plenty, it's like this. I'm struggling to find a way to show this to you. I need to show it like this, okay. So the inside of the horn is narrow, and what happens as it comes more to the outside, it becomes wider and wider and wider. So it's literally a horn of plenty, and what comes out of it is all the wonderful gifts, because that's what life really is. It's a horn of plenty. There are so many things which can come to us once we are open and optimistic and excited. In fact, excitement is one of your biggest gifts as a human being. When you become excited about something, you're far more capable of actually doing that thing than if you're just neutral. Or let's make it even more extreme, if you're depressed. If you're depressed about something, it's really hard to engage. But when you're excited, you've got extra emotional energy and intent, you can engage much more easily. So this is all about a cornucopia. When you look at the graph of the Bitcoin and look at the increasing in value, it's the same shape. It's exactly the same shape as a cornucopia, the horn of plenty. And then this relates to me, to my shamanic work, because one of the fundamental healing modalities in my contemporary shamanic practice with the universal soul retrieval, how all the negative energies are released, it's all done through the blue vortex. And when I do the UGR work, that's all releasing the heavy negative emotions that hold the person down for so long through the white vortex, and I've worked with other vortexes too. So the cornucopia, the horn of plenty, the vortex, the blockchain asset increase in value, it's the same shape. This is like a fundamental shape, and you can go and have a look at my film called The Green Torus, because actually when it comes down to it, this is it. If you look at a flat piece of paper and you draw that shape out, you're drawing a spiral. When you make it 3D, it changes from being a spiral to being a vortex, and a vortex is just part of a much bigger shape which is called a toroid or the torus. And this is one of the fundamental sacred geometrical forms in the universe. It's how everything is made. So this links in with multidimensional existence. Blockchain assets linking with multidimensional existence and multidimensional reality, which is about expanding your consciousness beyond 3D. All these things are indeed connected. So you start to see how interesting this is all getting. So here's my point. My point is all these new blockchain assets that you will discover after you've invested in your Bitcoin, because they're so much further back on the process, they're going to do their expansion much, much more, because they haven't got the point. So Bitcoin's all the way up here, Litecoin is all the way down there, and the Salt and EOS are all the way down there. But they're all increasing in value as the increase in confidence takes place. So what we've got is we've got the most fascinating transition. And you will find that the experts who know so much more than I do, I keep saying this, I really am a rank amateur who knows virtually nothing. So I'm going to give you a name in a moment. That's your name. And what an interesting website that man's got, and what an interesting YouTube presence that man has got. And he's been around a while. You'll notice that as soon as you see this guy on the screen. Ooh, okay, that's not some guy in his early 20s. He's been around a while. And he's made some incredibly interesting predictions outside of this sphere in terms of more mundane 3D stuff. You'll see that as soon as you start to research this. And yet he's one of the real advocates for this massive change that we're in. So this is what people are saying. People are saying that we're going through the biggest change in terms of finances now than we've been for many, many hundreds of years. And my first thought was, surely that can't be true. Surely the really big things in the last hundreds of years about finance must have been about the bank card. Surely that's far more significant than any of this blockchain asset stuff, because it went from us carrying money in our purses, gold sovereigns in the old days, and then now we have banknotes, and now we've got these bank cards. Surely that's got to be the biggest thing. No way, Jose, no. That's small potatoes. What's far more significant is this way of being able to share with each other outside of centralized control, freeing ourselves from the control of tyrants. Thank you, Naval. It all gets more exciting from here, folks.